Now, this is a topic that I know everyone has dealt with. If you're living and breathing on planet Earth, you have been hurt by someone. And it makes it 1,000 times worse when you're hurt by someone who you once trusted, right? And the whole purpose of this video is not just to tell you, just forgive and forget. That person didn't know what they were doing or whatever the case may be. This is more on why it's so difficult to forget. You get it? Because if it was that simple, we'd all be saying sorry and we'd all move forward with our lives. But sometimes when something happens to us, whether it be traumatic, very sad, or just it could be disappointing, it's very difficult to move on with your life, right? Because a lot of those things that transpired before that event, you remember. So one thing I also do want to mention is that what we're not going to say here is that forgiving someone means reconciliation. It doesn't mean you have to connect with them after we go through this process. It doesn't mean that you have to respect that disrespectful behavior and pretend like, hey, you know what, this actually never even happened. I already forgave that person, so now I live in La La Land. No. There's a huge distinction, a huge difference between basically acknowledging what went wrong and not appreciating it, and also forgiving someone and just waking up the next day as if it's a clean slate. That doesn't happen, right? Because trust takes years, months, weeks. For other people that's a bit easier for them to forgive and trust people. And just know that moving forward, it doesn't mean that you are going to completely be healed, but you will be 100 times better. So if that's something you're excited about, this is the video for you, because my main goal here is just to investigate why is it so difficult to forgive people. Why is it that we just think that, you forgiving people is something that is natural to human beings, which I don't believe. If you were ever betrayed, that it comes natural to you to not want an eye for an eye, right? If someone steals from me, if someone talks bad behind my back, if someone hurts me physically, right? They put their hands on me, what am I innately wanting to do? Right off the bat, what I'm gonna wanna do, I'm gonna want to pay them back for what they did to me, right? But now we live in a society that is not like the old times, right? There's cameras everywhere. And also more than that, I believe we have more character. We have more morals and ethics. And yes, it will feel good right at the very beginning. When you pay them back and you see the look in their face, or, you talk bad about them and you exile them from the community, you make them feel like they're alone and now everyone knows. It's gonna feel good momentarily, temporarily. And that being said, let's take the high road, so to speak. So, when you forgive someone, it's easy to forgive a stranger who bumps shoulders with you, right? If someone steps on your shoes by accident, if someone skips you in line. But it's harder when that person isn't a stranger or a coworker. This is actually a loved one. And once you get hurt by a loved one, it's very difficult. Picture your parents hurting you, your sibling, your wife, your husband, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your best friend. That is gonna leave the deepest cut. That's gonna really affect you tenfold than what a regular stranger or coworker does. And why? Because at that point, you have so much background. You have so much history with that person. You remember so many moments that you guys spent together, so many things you accomplished together, so many phone calls, so many walks in the park, so many, whatever, even business, right? You maybe started a business with someone. So all that comes to top of mind, top of heart, when they did something that was so mean, so evil, because all you think is like, I would never have expected you to do that. I would never do that to you. And then you start to remember and reminisce on all of the good things, And that's why I believe forgiving someone else is probably one of the most difficult things that you can ever accomplish and do in life. But if you have the right process, if you have the right strategy and the right mindset, and you understand people, or you dedicate yourself to understanding people better, then at that point, it'll be much easier for you to move forward. Because at the end of the day, you're either going to live with bitterness, and everything that you do is going to be tainted by that. And you don't want that. And again, when someone hurts you, especially when they're close to us, it's not that you just only lose trust, right? Not like, oh, now I'm not going to trust anyone. More than that is you lose that picture that you had with them, right? The picture of, oh, we're going to be best friends forever, or I'm never going to leave you and you'll never leave me, and we'll always be together, right? So at that point, you believed, I wouldn't say a fantasy or a fairy tale, but you believed there was so much more to come. This is just the beginning, or this is just the middle, and we're going to blossom into something different, right? And every time I see myself doing something, I almost see you with me. And at that point, that type of disloyalty or betrayal or stab in the back is going to hurt so much more. And that's why when we build these stories and these narratives of how we're going to move forward in life and our future, that totally shatters right in front of your face. Like, we had a whole future together. What? Even just in the back of my mind, I was thinking about going out to a restaurant with you, and I wanted to take you because I know this is your favorite food. This is your favorite thing. And now this is all over. So you almost feel like you wasted your time. You know what I mean? It's exhausting, and it almost makes you never want to trust or pour into anyone else because you saw what someone is capable of. And now, here's the part. Why is it that we keep thinking about it, right? Even though you said you forgive that person, mentally, the way our brain works is that we're always going to remember things that caused us a lot of pain, right? If someone calls you joy or whatever, yeah, you'll be excited for the moment, but the thing that hurt you, right? The famous thing, oh, you know, when you touch a hot pot on the stove, you never forget that because it hurt so much, right? You say, oh, little kids are going to learn the hard way. They know. Or if you play with a dog and you're like, you know, grabbing on his muzzle, on his nose, things like that, you know, when the dog bites you, you'll never forget that, right? But you'll forget that time you went to the park and said, hey, can I pet your dog? And you pet him on the head and he just licked you. That's something that's good. So the reason that we keep replaying those traumatic events is because it's a way that our brain lets us know, like, hey, this is something that was traumatic. This hurt you a lot. And you almost try to figure out why, right? That's why you keep replaying it in your head over and over and over, because you're trying to satisfy your brain, your psychology, into answering the question of, why did this happen to me, right? But sometimes you never really get that answer. And, you know, we could tell ourselves, you know, I'll never be hurt again this way. So what do? We protect ourselves by being angry, right? By being someone who is me against the world. I don't need anybody. But at that point, that protection keeps you in a prison of your own making, right? Because there's people out there who have the biggest hearts, the best intentions for you. But you'll look at them suspiciously. What do they want from me? Why is that person being so nice? Why is that person being so kind? So now if you saw yourself ever doing that, you know, of being that person who's blocking your blessing, that's basically what you're doing. Because you're not letting anyone else get close. You'll never share again, right? You'll never let someone else in. You build the walls up high. But guess what? You doing that, you're choosing to be bitter and to live with poison, right? And just to live in a state of mind that's of lack, that's of less than, that's of evil. And we don't need to do that. Now, a lot of people think when you forgive someone, you're letting them know, hey man, it's okay. You know, what you did was okay and I'm over it. No, it's not about that. It's not about pretending that what they did was okay and that means, you know what, now I'm going to allow you back into my life. And that's why I said at the very start of the video, forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation. The biggest I would say the benefit of learning to forgive someone, and now you guys are tracking along with me, of what forgiveness means. Forgiveness brings you peace. It allows you to move forward. It allows you to put that aside, because the more you think about something, the more you internalize it and stamp it into your brain, And at this point, just remember, forgiveness is not forgetting because you can't. It's literally releasing yourself from being controlled by that with what they did, their behavior, right? It's you letting yourself know, you know what, I'm gonna forgive that person. Why? Because I don't want to be controlled by them anymore, right? They're probably outside, drinking a nice little juice with pizza, their favorite toppings on it, enjoying their life. But you are still stuck on what they did. You're still ruminating over and over and over about what they did to you. And that's not how you want to live, right? And again, I'm teaching myself as I speak with you. But at this point, what's the alternative? If I don't forgive them, I'm just going to be bitter. And every time I think about them, I'm going to be mad and a bad energy and a bad state of mind. And those things are only going to affect my life moving forward. From today moving forward, do I want to live like that? Do I want to look at people suspicious? And one other thing, forgiveness, just you saying, I forgive you or I forgive them. Forgiveness is not something that happens spontaneously. It doesn't happen overnight. Forgiveness is a daily thing, right? Because one day you may, have your favorite meal, just got paid, everything's going great. And you may not forgive them the way you forgave them yesterday, right? Because memories will come up and you'll just, you'll feel that again. But just remember, hey, I don't want to live in resentment anymore. It's literally a daily choice. I do not want to live in resentment anymore. I do not want to live with this pain in my heart. I do not want to live with this distrust. I want to move forward in peace. So by you forgiving that person or that situation, and sometimes you got to forgive yourself. I think that's one of the most important things, right? So you can take everything we spoke about today and just look in the mirror and say to yourself, I forgive you. And just with all these other things, because we're all human, and that's the purpose of life. We're human. And, sometimes you say, yeah, but how do I forgive that person? Right? Like how in the world if you went through what I went through, you would never forgive that person. You would hate them. You'd probably want to kill them or whatever, inflict pain on them. But what you really have to think about is, instead of saying, how can I forgive them, is, who do I want to be after what just happened, right? Think about that. It's, who do I want to be after I experience that pain? And think about it. You already experienced enough pain, enough sorrow, enough sad songs, enough sad movies. They already took enough of your joy and peace and tranquility and trust in humans. How about this? How about moving forward? I'm not going to live like that. And I think that's one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself, is telling yourself, hey, I got you, right? Pat yourself on the back. I got you. Don't worry about it. I'm not going to keep suffering and replaying that movie, because that's all it is, right? Like our brains, when we think about things, we're replaying a movie over and over and over and over. And just realize, you don't want to play that movie anymore. Let's put on something else, right? Netflix has like 1 million movies anyways. And, the sad thing is, some people will never apologize to you. Some people will never change, no matter how many opportunities you give them, no matter how many chances, no matter how easy you make it for them. And you just have to be okay with that, right? Not every time are you going to get that last chapter of that book that you thought would be. You know what I mean? Sometimes you just left on a cliffhanger. Sometimes they just rip the book or they throw it out. But I think the most important part is, what do I have control over, right? I can't control them. I can't make them do anything. I can't make them change their behavior. And when you keep thinking about what they did, you're just trying to rewrite what already happened. It already happened. You can't look at that. See, I can't even speak. You can't rewrite what already happened. And by you trying to do that, is you're literally refusing to see reality for what it is. And when you're doing that, you're being delusional. You're just making it harder on yourself. And every single time, you're just going to go into that pit of hell, right? I don't want to live in hell. I want to live in heaven. And just remember, every person has a story behind why they are the way they are. Every behavior has a reason, and at that point, sometimes you learn about humans in the worst ways, right? I don't wish pain on anyone, or trauma or sadness or betrayal, disloyalty, people who lie right in front of your face when all you did was tell them the truth. So, yes, we want justice for what happened, for what they did. It's unacceptable, man. Like, what? No, I'm going to get them back. Hopefully you trust in the Lord, and at that point you realize, hey, there's a scripture in the Bible that says something about, I think it's in the book of Matthew, but you are to forgive, 7 times 7 or 7 times 10. Basically, that's our role in life. You just keep forgiving. Why? Because it's not for you to bring on justice, right? You're not the judge. The man above is, and he'll get his justice with them. But only if you forgive first, pray about it, and move forward. Remember, it's literally about telling yourself, okay, what they did, I won't forget it. It wasn't right. But I acknowledge what they did, and I forgive them. And now I move forward. Doesn't mean you have to text them, Snapchat them, meet up with them, act fake in front of them. Oh, I'm happy now. No, it's okay. But just do not let them control any more of your life. Now, if you can, let me know. Write me a comment. Was there ever a time in your life where someone did something to you so horrible, so horrible, and if you could talk about it, I'd love to read it, but you don't have to go back into it, and you thought you could never move forward, you thought you could never forgive them, but today as you watch this, you're like, wow, I actually did forgive them, and I healed because of it, and I became a different, better person because of it. Now, if you have something like that, please share it below. Thank you.